Here I have the SuperSkipper, and you can see compared to the SuperSkip RR that's right behind me. And this is our full-on Mankey Day creek boat. Lots of volume in the boat, particularly all around the center of the boat, which is where you really want it. I'm a pretty small guy, so I don't want it to be too big around me at the cockpit area, but it's packing a lot of volume to keep you afloat. But we have taken volume out of the ends of the boat that I'll get to in a little bit. Now, we started working on this boat about 3 years ago in secret. And one of the big things that we were working on, one of the things that we realized was going to be a game changer, was going to what we call this diptail, which is you've got this planing surface that starts kind of at the back band and goes to a little bit in front of your knees, and then a secondary planing surface, and it's an abrupt turn on the bottom of the boat that then goes up to the tail. So you've got this flat planing surface back there and another one in the front. So you can plane and skitter across the water using this surface here, or you can allow the boat to drop onto that back planing surface and skitter across the water, just like a playboat surfing a wave, right? The way it's super loose feeling on a wave and skiddy like that. And that was a real, breakthrough for us when we came up with this concept in the early prototypes of the boat. And we combined that with really high nose rocker and a deck rocker that matches the rocker of the hull. And you can see it better over here on the RR, how the deck rocker matches the hull rocker. And the result of that is that when you do need to plunge the boat, if you're going over something that's really big or it's a drop that you can't really, boof over and you need to plunge, you don't go into the water and then the boat just explodes to the surface because you've got this huge crown and this big area and it does this and then your tail's in the water and you've lost all your speed. Because the two are working seamlessly with each other, when you go over the drop and you pencil in, it arcs towards the surface and it keeps its speed forward and it moves away from the drop, carrying that speed, carrying that arc, and rocketing to the surface downstream. It is helped a little bit by this little lip that we've got here, this rising lip, and also on the hull we have a concave over there. You can see it right there like that. You can see that concave, and it works a little bit like a longboard, surfboard, where you could run up to the nose of a nose rider and that concave helps the board stay up on the surface. And it's kind of doing the same thing, right? It's the same concept. So this boat is really about getting away from features, staying on top of the water. I mean, this boat is higher than Snoop Dogg. It just really just across the water. It's incredible. It just skitters across everything. It's fantastic. Now, despite all the volume in the center, as I said, we've taken volume out of the ends. And the two reasons for that, one is if you ever get stuck in something, it's a lot easier to get out of it if you can kind of pump the nose or the tail into the hole that you're in and kind of move it towards the surface, get it turned around in the hole, dip the ends, get into it like a cartwheel, something like that. That's a lot easier to get out of stuff. But also when you're turning this boat, when you drop it over the tail, like you can be paddling and I want to do a really quick turn, I'll be on this front surface, this planing surface over here, and I want to whip it around, and I will go into a defect, and I just get my weight back, and because the pivot point is right at the back band, it'll drop onto the tail, and your boat is only this long, and it whips around on the tail super fast. And if you do have a bit of water that is washing across the tail of the boat, it's small enough back here to where the water's going to just roll over the top, and you're not going to get this this reject from it engaging. Obviously not to the degree of the RR, but it still does it, and it's really cool. We have our handles centered in the boat. I don't like these huge cutaways that you have to put on the sides of the boat in order to get a rescue handle over here, because that provides a big concave area for water that's coming down to push into. You have this huge negative area that the water can catch and it can push into, and it makes boats which would otherwise be a lot more forgiving than they are, more unstable than they should be. This is something that I kind of figured out when I was working on the Chaos Monkey back in the day, when we originally had the rescue handles on the sides, and we noticed that it was loading up. And when we moved it to the center of the boat, we picked up a whole bunch of forgiveness and predictability by going to the center of the boat. And anyway, I prefer to grab here to pass it up and down. I just find when you grab it here, the boat it's not centered, it's kind of wobbling around. This is just a much more centered and balanced way to pass the boat up and drag it around. The outfitting of the boat, we have a structural beam front and back in the SuperSkipper and in the RR, going into our whole tray that makes the whole thing really stable, really stiff, combined with this good recessed cockpit area here that really creates a good stiff area in the boat. The seat comes out, so you just unclip it, seat comes right out, so you've got way more access to the back of the boat. It's a lot easier to get stuff in and out if the back band's on the back of the boat and the seat's out, and the seat doubles up as well as a camping chair when you are doing overnighters. So this is the SuperSkipper. This would be your boat if you're looking for the ultimate manky, I'm in way over my head, I just don't want to die today, I need a boat to look after me. This is your boat. Really dry ride, really predictable, super tucked sidewalls with the raised rails on the bottom of the boat, so it's really easy to maneuver. It moves around the river predictably. There are no surprises, and if you're used to paddling a boat with volume, you're going to appreciate all this volume on the back deck over here. Someone like myself who's more accustomed to half slices, I tend to go towards the RR most of the time, but I will definitely paddle this boat if I feel like I'm getting it over my head or I'm with a bunch of young guns that have got something to prove. I got nothing left to prove, man. I just don't want to die. This is my boat. So that's your overall look at the boat. You can see here on the hull, this boat's been through the wars already, and you can see this break point right over here, right at the back band. Really raised up. And one thing as well that we've done is, even though the sharper your rail is, the more it's going to release and the more predictable it is. You hear what I said there? The sharper your rail is, the more predictable it is. Because what makes a boat unpredictable or edgy, catchy, is sidewall angle, not edges. But we've rolled them slightly. We've made these edges a little bit round, not to make it more predictable, but to make it more rock happy. By getting rid of that really razor edge that the playboats will have to a slightly rounded edge, you lose a little bit of predictability, just a tiny bit. But you pick up the ability to whack into stuff without chewing up your boat. And it's a creek boat, so that was key, right? This edge here is rolled completely over here. It's not the one that's doing the work, it is this one out here. We're not trying to flat spin this thing on a wave, so you don't need it to be the ultimate loose haul. I mean, it does flat spin. I've had it on some waves and it'll flat spin. It's fun to surf, particularly the RR. And same thing, we've carried that all the way through with lots of flare in the nose over here, and the same thing, lots of flare on the sidewall through the tail. That is the SuperSkipper, and I kid you not when I tell you, when you paddle this thing, it's going to be a wow moment. It will just absolutely change how you think a creek boat should handle. I'm stoked.